go ahead and get started here. So I am curious if, oh, yay, we have a person join us. Thank you. Another person join us. I really would love, and you don't have to necessarily take your camera and turn it on unless you really want to, but I really would love to hear a little bit about who's with me tonight. And I know we have Dr. Reeder with us, and y'all know her very well, but I'm gonna, let's see, some of the names sort of disappeared. That's really weird. I don't know why. But if y'all could just go around and tell me who you are and what area you are studying. And then if you don't mind putting your name in the chat boxes or the chat box, that would be awesome too. I am going to record this and I'll put it out on our career meetups page, and I'll also share it with Dr. Reeder, and I'll also share the presentation because I do have some hot links in there. So look at all these people. All right, let's see, now the names are coming up. How about, can we start with you, Tamala? You were the first one here.
Hello, greetings. Good evening to you. My name is Tamala Anderson. I'm trying to remember what you asked. You asked us to mention, I'm a grad certification student for middle grade science. Can you tell me one more time what else?
Just a little, whatever you want to share. So I have a question. I'm remembering your name, I think, from the meeting with all the student teachers. Are you the person who is in Japan and it's like 4 a.m. there or something crazy?
Yes, I am in Japan. It's 8 a.m. Not too bad. I probably will go back to bed after this.
Okay, so I am curious, how are you doing? How is the student teaching working?
It's working. I just pretty much during this time I'm usually resting and just preparing, and then by the afternoon or so I kind of just get acclimated and prepare to join the class at 9 p.m. and then stay on pretty much until 1 a.m. and then do other things like for office hour work, because the classes are only 45 minutes and we have 4 classes, and which is nice. It works for me. And then after that it's office hours, and so I just generally do whatever I need to do as far as work and schoolwork and grades and lesson plans and that kind of thing. And then I kind of retire around sometimes 3. Just depends. It just depends on the schedule. It's working though. It's working.
Well, I think it's amazing what you're doing. And I love your backdrop of a bridge. So I think that's
thank you.
Timely. So I guess now that I can see people's names, Jenny, can we go to you?
Okay. Hey, my name is Jenny. I'm doing my student teaching right now in North Carolina. I wish it was in Japan. That sounds pretty cool. I'm doing my student teaching right now in Moxville, North Carolina. I'm in 4th grade.
County. Is that your home county by chance?
Yeah, like here in Yadkin County. Like I grew up in Yadkin, but we moved here later on, so kind of like both. But yeah.
Great. I've spent a lot of time in Moxville, had in-laws who live there, so it's great.
Yes.
Glad to have you. Haley, are you with us?
Yes, sorry, I was cleaning my kitchen while I was listening.
That's okay.
Yes,
They're probably happy that you're doing that.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm Haley. I'm student teaching. I'm in Watauga County. So I'm just here in Boone. I was supposed to be going to Ireland at the end of this semester to student teach, but I will not be doing that. So that's disappointing, but it's okay. So yeah, I'm in 1st grade right now in Watauga County.
And which school are you at?
I'm at Blowing Rock.
Okay, so you just got some kids back this week.
Yes, Monday and Tuesday are our first days, and we'll do it all again. My teacher was like, we get our first day of school tomorrow. So this is the 4th time the kids have come back or like started school again. So
Well, that's great. Well, at least you can be with students in person, and I
Yeah.
hope you make it to Ireland. It's one of my favorite places. So,
Thank you. I hope so too.
Samantha, are you with us?
Yes, hello. My name's Samantha Kirk, and I'm an art education major, and I'm student teaching in Caldwell County at Sawmills Elementary School.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm at.
Great. And y'all are in person, I'm pretty sure, down there.
Yes, we're in person right now on an AABB schedule. So we have students for 2 days, have Wednesday off, and then have a different set of students. But that's changing the week of the 19th. We're moving to all students at the same time with Wednesdays still off, or not off, but remote. And then in the beginning of November, we're moving to all 5 days. So lots of change.
Yeah, it is a lot of change. And you guys are, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is how well that's going to prepare you for everything in the world. Sarah, you're here with us too?
Yeah, hi. I'm Sarah Hamilton. I'm in the grad cert program as well, starting my second career teaching.
Yay!
I am at AC Reynolds Middle School in Buncombe County.
Mhm.
I teach 8th grade science at the moment. So
Great. So are you in the Asheville area?
yes.
Yes. Well, I
Yeah.
know y'all have had some, I have one of my best friends is Meg Turner, who's the principal over at Owens High School. And I've been hearing about the fireworks with the school board. So
Oh, it's embarrassing.
we've all
Are
got
we going? Aren't we going? They have flip-flop, the poor high school. They're coming, but they're coming back. And one of our schools just announced that they had a cluster of COVID positive, and we're just like, oh, please don't change it again. And we're finally, because this is week 2 of us doing a similar AA, and then Wednesday today was asynchronous day, and then we have our B students Thursday, Friday. So it's been interesting.
I know. Well, hang in there. Hang in there. Elizabeth, how are you? You have a great backdrop.
Oh, thank you very much. Courtesy of Bear paint. But I am a CTE BFit teacher at Carborough High, and we are all virtual, and so thankfully it's been very stable, and it's just catching up with kids that are really struggling with this format. But outside of that, things are going okay, as much as they can be.
I know. Well, it's good to have you with us, and I'm glad it's
to be
going
here.
well. Daphne, can I call on you? How are you? I was just asking folks to tell us who you are. Y'all probably know each other, and a little bit about what you're doing right now.
I'm an elementary education major. I'm in a first grade classroom right now. What was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's good. What school are you at?
Tuttle Elementary in Catawba County.
Okay. So we have another Catawba person. Well, we had a Caldwell. It's all kind of very similar down there together. Bryce, can I call on you to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Bryce Cartwright. I am student teaching right now in Avery County at the high school. We are in person. It's very interesting.
Well, Avery High School, did you say Avery, wait, are you at the high school or middle school? At the middle school?
The high school.
Okay, well, it's already designed in pods, right? So you're probably safe over there. Great. Is it Michaela?
Michaela.
Okay.
I'm student teaching in kindergarten, and we just started back in person, so it's interesting.
Great. And what school are you at?
Mabel Elementary in Zionville.
Yeah, that's great. Mabel is a wonderful, I think it's probably the first public school in Watauga County I set my feet in. And Jennifer is running around trying to get lots of things together. Jennifer, tell us about you. What's up with you these days?
All right. Sorry, had a really interesting idea about place value, so I'm trying to put it together. I'm doing elementary ed in second grade at Blackburn Elementary. And my students didn't get all of first grade last year, so they didn't get place value. So I'm teaching place value, even though it's not in our standards, not really to teach. And so I tried to start it today, and it's my EdTPA lesson, so.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned EdTPA, and I know y'all have to do that. That's part of your requirement. And it's not something I know a ton about, and probably you all know quite a bit more about that than I do. But one thing I was just thinking about is I would really encourage y'all, if you have not started, to really, really spend some time keeping a journal during this experience. I feel like I would remember everything that happened in March, and even now, I can't remember. But this experience that you're having now, being in the public schools and with the children and the families you're with, it is going to truly, I really do believe, shape so much your philosophy and your experience teaching. So I encourage you to do that. Well, I do have a presentation, so let me share the screen. Let's see if it came up the way I want it to, and make it big enough so you don't have to see all my millions of tabs that are open. So when I talked to Dr. Reeder, I guess we touched base in August about doing this presentation, and we talked about the topic being around sort of career resources. And so what I've done is I'm serving as the interim for the career coach for the College of Ed. A little bit about me. I actually have 3 degrees from the Wright College of Education. I did a master's in student development. I have an ed specialist degree in higher education. And then I did my doctoral program, my EDD in leadership, educational leadership there in the college. And I've never taught. I was an Upward Bound director. I worked with the Upward Bound program, which is a college access program for kids who would be the first in their families to go to college and who come from very poverty-stricken backgrounds. And I worked a ton in Wilkes, Watauga, Ashe, and Avery County. I've spent a lot of time in Avery High School. And all those high schools in those counties. So I have a real passion for education, and now I serve as the director of the Career Development Center. But as I've taught to students doing this interim role of career coach, some of the questions I've heard and some of the conversations I've had are really what guided this presentation tonight. So what I want to talk about are sort of traditional opportunities and planning for you to be a teacher. And then I'm going to share the, what if I'm not really sure about this? What if I can't remember because I don't have everyone here. My person who is AC Reynolds, Sarah, what if you get in this and 5 years later, you're like, this is really not what I thought it was going to be. I want to change my career. And then I'm just going to talk about some things that I think you can do, because you all are all very much in the job search process, some things you can do to help hopefully give yourself some sanity and some grace over the next few weeks and months. Okay, so the first thing, I think y'all know a fair amount about what we do, but I am at the Career Development Center, and this is what we do. We do career exploration. Y'all are past that. We do resume reviews. Many of you have been doing that. We do networking events. And even though we are in this bizarre time, we have had a full-on array of activities and programming that we're doing. We had a LinkedIn workshop today. Next week, we are having a graduate and professional school fair on Wednesday. We have a panel of graduate school professionals on Tuesday night who are going to talk about graduate programs and helping and healthcare professions. So we've had a lot going on. You get emails from us every week. Every Wednesday/Wednesday night, you'll get an email called Mountains of Opportunity. It may actually be Thursday morning. I may not be telling you the truth. And that has job opportunities. And then you get one on Monday that tells you about our events. So one thing I would encourage you, wherever you are going to be teaching, is helping your students think about not so much what their career is going to be, but what their life is going to be. And I think that's a real approach that we want to take in our office, is that we're here not to just help you get a job, not just to help you sort of define a career, but really to define the type of life that you want to live and the role that work plays in that, and help you find meaningful work that will, be rewarding to your life. So some things I want to talk about in terms of how am I going to find that traditional teaching job? And when I mean traditional, I mean more of like working in a public school such as you all are in. So first of all, I'm just curious, how many of y'all have talked to someone and I can't really see you all, so you can just unmute, have talked to someone who is teaching, who has told you about somebody in their school who is planning to retire this year or who just retired?
I have.
A few people there.
Yeah, I have.
Yes. Hannah has, and some of those people retiring, Tamala has, are not people who've been teaching for 30 or 35 years. It's been a very difficult time. So the one thing I want you to know, and it's always true, because I cannot tell you how much employers want to hire Appalachian State University graduates from the College of Education. But this year, more than ever, you really should be able to be selective about where you want to go and what you want to do. So first of all, you are here. So that is huge. That is networking, even networking with each other. So I'm just gonna, let's see, I'm trying to remember. Sarah is at AC Reynolds. Elizabeth, you are in Carborough. Chapel Hill Schools, very high quality school system, very desirable. So it may be that somebody in this group is like, hey, I really like to come down there. What positions do you know about? So when we talk about networking, it's not just professionals who are already working, you all are a network. So that's one way you find out about opportunities. Your faculty and staff in the College of Ed. In fact, Rebecca Sailors sent me some flyers today that they are really actively hiring middle grades teachers in Winston-Salem Forsyth. And so your faculty, we are getting flyers all the time. We're getting calls all the time from school districts. NC Works is a state-based website, and every single state job in North Carolina is posted there. And many, many, many school districts are also posting positions there. Now, Handshake, and I want to pivot real quick to just show you. I don't know, can y'all see this other screen, or do I need to stop and share? Okay, so this is, we do a jobs report each week. So since last Wednesday, we've had, oh, well, we're behind because I know what, we normally have about 500 or 600 jobs. We don't have as many this week because we have been sort of swamped. But we have, I'm just looking through here real quick. Let's see, there was one that had several. Richmond County Schools is looking for an English teacher. There's a Christian school looking for a teacher. Prince George County Schools up in Maryland is looking for an early childhood or elementary school educator, a math teacher. There was one here at the beginning that I noticed. It was a school program. Where was it? It was an early college. I think it was right here. Buncombe County Schools, looking for elementary, family consumer science, a K-5 classroom teacher, charter schools. So my point, oh, here it is, these barred early colleges. I'm not familiar with that, but all these are the jobs that are in Handshake. I can't tell you how many education jobs are being added every week. You can also keep up with your individual school district websites. If you know you want to be in Charlotte Meck, they've got a huge HR department. Many school districts will have an additional application, just like for certain positions with state government. But you all, I know, already have your resumes ready, so you should be in a good place there. And then you have the North Carolina Association of Educators. They don't necessarily have jobs posted, but they do. But again, that's another great way for you to network and see what's going on in the state. And then on October 30th, I don't know why I didn't put the date there, we will have the Education Career Fair, and we'll be doing that on Zoom. So that is kind of your, I'm going to kind of give you 3 ways to look for jobs. This is probably the most common traditional way. So what about non-traditional sources to find a job? You're like, I'm okay doing a traditional public school, but I'm kind of curious about what else might be out there. Could I teach in a wilderness program? Could I teach in a group home? I think about Cross North School, which is actually, I believe, incorporated. I'm going to look at Hannah. I think it is now incorporated as a charter school, but it is a school or it is a facility where children live long term who can't be with their families. So first of all, definitely get into Handshake. In Handshake, not only are jobs listed, but there are amazing workshops. I mean, so many cool things. Like, do you want to do STEM education for like elementary kids at a maybe an urban-based outreach program? You can look, if you want to be in another state, definitely look at what's going on in public education there. Again, those individual school district websites. We want you in many ways, and especially the College of Ed, because we are funded by North Carolina. We want you to be available and be interested in teaching in our public schools. And charter schools are public schools. But you may decide, that guy I met at the Education Career Fair from Alaska who offered me $8,000 travel. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to do that. So you might, just think about, do you want to broaden your horizon? There are private schools. There are programs like Teach for America. There's one I learned about last year, the Memphis Teacher Residency, that actively seeks students who are graduating from college to work in Memphis in really at high poverty schools, Title I schools. And a lot of these other non-traditional sources will show up in our internship and job fair, but they'll also be at the Education Career Fair that is October 30th. I'm going to have a quiz about that at the end. And then the next thing I want to share with you is a little information about the American Association for Employment and Education. If we were all in one physical place, I would have a little handout, a little booklet to give you, but we don't have that. So I'm going to encourage you to go to their website. So this is a consortium of school districts, HR offices and school districts that are hiring all over the country. They have some really great webinars right now that are free. Things like how to prepare for a virtual job fair, how to prepare for a virtual interview. They have their own virtual career fairs. And if you want me to send you one of the booklets that we have that are in our office, and I'm going to send this presentation to all of y'all afterwards, if you will just email Career Center at App State and just say, please send me that book that Susan mentioned, I will put it in the mail and we will get it to you. There's also a job board on the AAE website. So what if you're at this point and you're like, I'm not sure I really want to teach right now. I'm doing my student teaching and it's been such a bizarre experience. I don't know how confident I feel about taking on a classroom on my own in January, and I don't even know what that's going to look like. I'm really concerned about being in a classroom, maybe because of my health issues, or maybe you have some compromises. And then we also have great opportunities to do a master's degree in education and add 1 year on. So you may be at a point where you may be thinking, I don't know what's next. Or you may be like, I just want to get done and get into the classroom. But I want to explore some of these options with you, because while they may not be things that you're thinking about right now, you may think about these in the future. So first of all, I think that something that we are all learning right now is that those of us who are most adaptable are really the ones who are going to thrive the best in this environment. I have no doubt that you are going to be successful securing a job. But let's pretend you really want to be in that Chapel Hill Carrboro School District, and that's your plan A, and it's not working out for you. Or there's a particular school that you really, really want to be in, and that's just not happening right now. So I think it's always good to have a plan A. Doesn't mean you've given up on that goal. It just means that goal's sort of set on the sidelines for right now. And that your plan B is what you're doing, and it's helping you make forward progress, so that you are going in a positive direction. So some things that I would encourage you to give yourself a little latitude on right now is how, when everything feels out of control, what are some tips on how to get it kind of under control? And these things are really easier said than done. Give yourself some time. One of the things that you'll see I put at the end of this is your career, your life is not a race. You went through middle school, high school, you all know how hard you worked to get ready for college. You got into college, you had all these courses, you've had all this stuff you've had to take, and it's all lockstep. And sometimes it feels like it's just a whole lot. And now you're at this life point, and everybody's path's going to be different. And there's no great prize for anyone who gets the most perfect job at the most perfect time, because things can change. So give yourself time, take care of yourself. Think about this as being an opportunity to develop maybe some new skills. I was thinking the other day, I had thought about this earlier. I was like, I have a daughter who is in acting. She's a theater major. And I had thought to myself, it would be really fun to take like an improv class. I've never done that. I don't know if that's a good thing or not to do here in COVID, but it might be something fun that's kind of a creative outlet. Making sure you have accurate data. And this is more for the larger job market. I can tell you your data is you are in demand, and there are a ton of jobs out there for you. Limiting your exposure to the news is also easier said than done, and it's all around us. Trying to focus on what you can control. And then I think the last thing on this right side is, how do you keep your connectivity with other people? And I think that is one of the things that really is helping ground many of us right now. So this is a slide that shows you, I found this back in, I think it was probably April. Forbes listed the 8 skills that they had identified would help people be most successful in navigating a post-coronavirus world. I might say these are skills that are going to help you best navigate a coronavirus world, because I think we're still a pretty good ways away from the post. And you can see what these are. These are the same types of, these align like with our general education goals at the university. They also align with the types of skills that you are going to be asked, and you are being asked to exhibit right now in the classroom, and that you had to exhibit as you've done your internships. And I think as you prepare for your interviews and talking to employers, the schools where you're going to be, these are some of the things that I think you want to put out there. So Jennifer, you mentioned that I'm sorry, I'm not calling on you, but you had mentioned that you're working on a particular concept and lesson that you've recognized that your students did not have last year. It's not really part of your curriculum, but to me, that is, well, that's two things. That's one, that's being creative and innovative. That's number three. It's also number four. It's using your critical thinking skills to identify a deficit, and you are developing a way to approach that deficit and address it. So I would encourage you to kind of keep these in your back pocket for when you're doing those interviews, so that you can say, these are the types of skills people need to have to be successful, and here's how I exhibit those. The other thing that I think is super, super important is, it's easy, I think, right now, or at least it is for me, and as you all get more into your student teaching, I think it's easy to see all the things that we can't do. I feel on a daily basis like I can't do enough. I can't work hard enough. I can't meet y'all's needs well enough. And at the same time, there's this paradox of, there's this whole world of opportunity, and I'm seeing all these ways that we can do things differently and be innovative and try new ideas. And the two of them just are overwhelming at times. And I think sometimes we get so focused on those things that we don't take time to really recognize all the successes that we already have had. And so I think, especially as you all are going to start interviewing and applying for jobs, that you want to make sure that you can talk about, you know, you don't want to spend your whole interview doing this, but having an example of what successes and accomplishments you have in your past, and how do you apply those to the job that you're applying for? How are you going to apply what you've learned, particularly in COVID, to a new school setting that may be a very different school? You may be in a virtual or partial virtual experience right now, but the school that you really want to work at come January is all in person, or it could be vice versa. So what have you learned that you can share with folks when you get to that point? The next thing I think is really important is to focus on what you can control. Today, I actually did a class presentation for students who are in early childhood education, the child development students. And we had a guest speaker, and she runs two fairly large child care centers. One is in Morganton in Burke County, and the other one is Wilmington. And she texted me at literally like 11:57 and said, I have a positive COVID case in one of my centers. I need to deal with that, and then I'm going to join you in a few minutes. So she had to deal with that immediately. And those are going to be things that you can't control. You have to deal with that. But what you can control is how you approach those situations, especially as you experience this more and more with your student teaching. You will have things that you aren't expecting, but how do you, again, sort of maintain your calm, use your critical thinking skills, and approach things with, you can't solve all the problems in your school. You can't solve all the problems that the children come with. You are going to have such a variety of learners right now, but what can you control? Your values, how much information you take in. You can really work now on perfecting your resume and cover letters. And those of you who I've worked with and seen those, they're excellent. Y'all have so much to be proud of. And it's just a matter of refining that. I mentioned earlier thinking about your keeping a journal. And I really do think, as much as you can, and I think this is part of your personal and professional development, is thinking about what is the type of life that you want, and how is the role of work involved in that. So let me stop right there, because I feel like I have been talking to myself. I'm gonna zip back out of this for a second I've got a few more slides, but I want to stop sharing the screen, get you all back. And I just wanted to kind of touch base and see y'all's thoughts and reactions to some of the things that I have just shared with you. Are any of y'all feeling some of that anxiety, especially as you think about getting out and getting a job? And what would you like to share with everyone?
I'll go. I'm always willing to talk. You guys know me. Yeah, anxiety is a huge factor. I was actually, a friend of mine just texted, her kids are at one of the charter schools nearby, and apparently the 6th grade science teacher quit today, and they have posted a position, and she's telling me to apply for it. And I'm just like, I hadn't really considered charter schools, so I saw you mention that, and I was like, oh, okay, that's
right,
a path I hadn't considered, because I'd always, been geared towards going completely public school, but that just got my wheels spinning. Sorry, as we're sitting here talking, she's texting me about this. So that was interesting timing. And I've also been debating on going on and getting a master's. So that was something I've emailed a couple of the professors about, which they're probably ready to. I'm probably driving them crazy like everybody else. I can't decide. There's so many unknowns. I just trying to get all this information, and it's a lot and overwhelming. And I'm rambling, and I'll stop now.
No, it's okay. I think many people share where you are. Yeah. One thing, as you, and many of you are probably thinking at some point, I do want to get my master's, for whatever reason, whether it's for your professional development in certain areas now. And correct me if I'm incorrect, Hannah, once upon a time in North Carolina, if you had your master's and you were teaching, you automatically got into another tier if you were in our traditional public schools. Now that is really reserved for people who are doing masters in higher need areas like EC and STEM. Is that the case now, Hannah?
Yes. Yes. So don't count on getting a pay raise for getting a master's. So Sarah, a lot of times in your situation, I'd recommend going ahead and taking the job and teaching. Get a year or so under your belt. If you're not doing accelerated admissions is a whole different thing, but and then do grad school while you're teaching. And so a lot of those programs work with around working adults and have night classes and things like that. So that way you're still drawing an income, you're working. And I found in a lot of education courses with grad school, it really helps when you have students that you can work with to complete a lot of your assignments. Because when you're trying to do it and you're not teaching, it becomes a lot of hypotheticals. So that's been my experience and what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. And I think also, like someone I was talking to recently said, well, I think I'll do the 4+1. And I was like, oh, so, this is an area, that you feel, you really like. Well, I'm not really sure. I mean, I might, but I'm not sure. I'm looking at other things. So, there's also giving yourself the latitude. For me personally, I knew I wanted to work with high school students, but I knew I was not. I knew that being in a classroom was not a place where I felt like I could be most effective. And so for me, I did a master's that was more higher education oriented because I love that sort of nexus between the two. So it could be that you end up really enjoying working with younger children, and so you might decide to pursue a degree that might be different, or perhaps even policy. I have lots of friends who've worked in education who now work in educational policy, and they did programs like public administration programs. But giving yourself again the opportunity to not feel rushed, to take time to explore that, I think is really important. Yeah. Anybody else want to share any reflections or thoughts from what I've given you so far? Yeah, Jennifer.
I have a question, I guess. I have applied for a couple of jobs, but I know there's some jobs like I couldn't complete the application because I don't have a license number.
Right, right. And that, I will say, I am actually going to defer to Dr. Reeder, because you won't have your licensure number until, I mean, you've got to get quite a bit of experience under your belt before you are a fully licensed teacher. And so, Hannah, do they, on those forms, do they normally put down in progress, or how would you advise folks on that one?
Yeah, so almost all of you will accept a job and be working before you have a teaching license. So those won't come in until probably, you won't even be eligible to apply for your teaching license until sometime in January. And then it takes a good 6 weeks sometimes to get it in. So they will hire you knowing that you've completed your program and that you've applied for it. So don't worry about if it's asking for a license number, put something like Dr. McCracken said, it's in progress, or we also, sometimes they'll ask for a letter from our office, just kind of confirming that you are on track to graduate and that this is the degree that you're pursuing and the licensure area that you're pursuing. And we send those all the time to districts. So yeah, don't stop filling out applications just because it asks for that. They will hire you, trust me.
So who do we contact to get that letter that you're talking about? Just you?
Either me, you can, so email the student teaching at App State, and either me or Mrs. Afanador will get that for you. It'll probably be Mrs. Afanador.
Okay.
Great. And I also, Hannah, this is another question I should have been prepared for. I'm assuming that you will also be asked to prepare and submit a transcript of your course, in addition to your portfolio, your EdTPA as well.
That's correct, but your transcripts won't come available until I think it's January 11th. So again, a lot of you will have already accepted jobs and started teaching before that transcript ever is available. So you can submit an unofficial transcript, or you can use that letter that we can send you, and that covers you until all of that is taken care of at the university level.
Right. And one little tiny housekeeping thing, if you have a library fine, pay that, because at some point you're going to need an official copy of your transcript, especially when you start thinking about applying to graduate school. And so you don't want to find out that $25 fine is now $120 at Appalachian, and you can't get your transcript until you pay it. But you would request your transcripts from the registrar's office. Okay, any more questions, or I'll jump back in for my last few slides.
I had a question.
Yes.
Does your office help with placement, like not in public schools or not in schools at all?
Yes, and I think I actually totally skipped over that slide. So let me zip back in here and share with you what that was. Let me go back. I was actually going to go to my office where I would be on the big screen instead of my little one. No, I guess I did. Hold on, I thought I had it in here. You know what? I think what I did is I think I left it out. So let me come back to you for a second. So yes, Elizabeth. So, I mean, we help you find whatever direction you want to go immediately. I mean, the one thing that's great is you guys will have completed your student teaching. You will have that degree. I do think if you, to do that licensure, because I have had situations where I've worked with students who've graduated and they didn't fully complete everything for their licensure, and then they decide they want to come back and go into the classroom, and they're really in a deficit. So if you can go ahead and do that work and complete that, that's helpful. But yes, I mean, like last week, 2 weeks ago at the internship and job fair, Philmont Boy Scout camp. I mean, I guess I should have known that it was a complete nation unto itself out there in, where are they? New Mexico. They have everything from, they have like full-time educators who are outdoor educators, some content educators. They have an REI store. They have a full-blown marketing and communication department. And I'm like, well, of course they do. They're like the world's largest Boy Scout camp. They probably have, I don't even know how many thousands of people must come through there a year. So there are places such as, if you still want to work with children or young people, there are so many opportunities. And there are programs that colleges have that are working with, that are youth serving programs, obviously lots of nonprofits. But if you're like, I really think I want to do something totally different, I'm interested in sales, or I'm interested in, I've been teaching myself coding, I'm interested in looking at that, then we will, we'll help you think about how you strategize on your job search. And I would really, really encourage y'all to get into Handshake and play around with it, look and see what's out there. And some of, like even AAEE, and I'm not super familiar with them, but even just looking at their job board today, there are some positions that are education oriented, but not in a sort of traditional classroom setting. So, and if you want to make an appointment with me, any of y'all can through Handshake, and we can explore that and see, because you may have other experiences and other work that you did before you came to Appalachian even, or that you've done while you're here.
So, about making sure that the path is easy if you did want to come to the classroom for some reason, so that would mean being able to apply for licensure. So that's making sure that you have your praxis and your ed TPA, and they're both passed and done. Is that right? Okay, thank you.
Yes. I'm looking at Dr. Reeder.
I'll jump in there for just a second if you don't mind. So you guys, you're going to meet all the qualifications. If you pass student teaching and you graduate, which you're all going to do, right? Then you are set up to apply for a teaching license in North Carolina. Even if you're not planning to stay in North Carolina, you go ahead and apply for that license and you get it. Because if you decide to move somewhere else, a lot of states have something called reciprocity, which means because you already have a teaching license in North Carolina, they will then give you a teaching license in that state. Not all states do, but a lot of them do. So it's so much easier since you will have already met all the requirements to do that. But that does mean, like Elizabeth was saying, within those first 3 years after you receive that license, you have to pass your praxis or NES exams, and you have to pass Ed TPA. But either way, you can still get that initial license, even if you haven't passed yet. But definitely do that. And just like Dr. McCracken was saying, if you decide, I don't want to go into teaching right away, but I think I might want to come back later, I want to do something in between, or I'm just not really sure. The fact that you already have that teaching license, it's so much easier to get it now than to come back later. There's no telling what the requirements may be at that time. They may have changed. So go ahead and get it, keep it updated, and then you'll be all set later if you decide to come back.
And so, Dr. Reeder, how, for the full, during that 3-year period, what is the average length of time that most folks take to get their full licensure?
So they can't apply for, so they get an initial teaching license as soon as they graduate, okay? They'll apply for that, and that is good for 3 years, and 3 years only. After 3 years, they have to upgrade to a professional continuing license, and if they don't, then they can't continue teaching. So the way that you do that is you pass that TPA, you pass your praxis exams, and you have 3 successful years of teaching experience.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So Elizabeth, does that help answer some of your questions?
I think so. I probably would have to make an appointment. So
yeah, well, let's sit down and we can just talk through what some of the different thoughts that you have. Okay, great. All right, let me get back here. Let's pop along to where we were. Okay, we've talked about the connection piece a little bit, and I just really, really want to come back to this I can't tell you, first of all, the network, whoops, sorry. I got y'all back. The Appalachian State University teaching network is like none other. You cannot go in a school in North Carolina, I don't think anywhere, and not find someone who either did a certificate at Appalachian, they did their undergraduate degree at Appalachian, they're teaching, or they did their master's degree. So don't underestimate the value of that. Informational interviews are a great way to, and I think somebody may have mentioned that, like, or maybe I'm thinking about earlier today in my other class. Um, if there's a school that you really want to be in or a classroom that you really want to be in, then find a way to set up some time to talk to somebody who's actually in that school right now. Don't be afraid to make it known to the principal and to the HR folks, especially the principal, that you are really interested in being in their school. They, like all of us, we want people to work with us who want to be in our school and have a desire to be there with us. LinkedIn is a tool that a lot of folks who are in education don't use as much, but I think right now in this COVID world, and the world that we will be in after this, we're just going to be so much more virtual. Having that really nice professional presence on LinkedIn is going to put you out there, and it's going to help you connect with alumni, even if they're not in the field of education. Let's say you end up moving to Wilmington and you're like, I don't know anyone down there, but you have your LinkedIn profile. You can go in and find other App State alums who graduated about the same time you did, or what activities are going on. So that's a connection professionally for your specific work, but it's also a bigger professional connection, especially when you think about establishing yourself maybe in a new community. I mentioned your handshake profile. There are three aspects to that you want to have updated: your education, and no, you haven't finished your degree, but you are so close to the finish line. You put right down there, December 2020. What experiences you've had is the second part that's really important. And then the third part to complete your profile is organizations. And I promise you, if this does not happen, you can come back to me and say, you were wrong, Susan McCracken. But if you have those three pieces there, you are going to have education institutions, you are going to have schools contacting you and sending you information about workshops that they're doing. Don't underestimate how important it is to follow up with the employers you meet at the job fair. So one of the things that I thought was super cool this summer, we did, as I mentioned, our first education career fair, and we did it in Zoom. Well, normally, if we have the folks from, I don't know, I'm just going to say Davidson County, we might have one representative who comes physically to campus to hire for Davidson County for that day. Well, when it's in Zoom, we had like the principal. We had some situations where the superintendent or assistant superintendent was actually a part of the team who was meeting candidates during that virtual job fair. So the opportunities to make connections is really, really, it's almost multiplied in this virtual world. And some of the feedback we got from students, and Dr. Reeder may want to chime in, students said, I was really afraid, I was nervous. This was so much easier than I thought. It was great because I am a little shy. I could be in that room by myself and I wasn't in a room with 400 or 500 other people. So Hannah, do you want to add anything to that? Because we're going to do a workshop with y'all around prepping for that fair at the end of the month.
Yeah, so the Education Career Fair is part of your Seminar 3, so you're required to attend it. It was amazing last semester. And I know we all were really nervous going into that with it being online and virtual and how does this going to work? Because I'm going to tell you, the Education Career Fair is amazing. When it's in person, like we take over the whole Convocation Center, and the Career Development Center just does this amazing job of setting it up. So many of our graduates or soon to be graduates leave that day with promising opportunities for jobs. So we were very nervous about it. It ended up being incredible. Like we were shocked how well it went, and students just had the most amazing feedback. Like I'm still just kind of like, I can't believe it went that well. And districts were so excited and happy about it. And so they come to our career fair, whereas they may or may not go to some of the other universities' career fairs because they want to hire our graduates, and they make that known. And sometimes they'll even start fighting over you a little bit or trying to tell you, hey, this is why you should come to my district. No, you should come to my district because of this. Oh no, we really want you. And so it gives you a little bit of a leg up, and you get to make the choice about what's best for you. But yeah, no, the virtual career fair was, it was pretty amazing. It was phenomenal.
So I think you guys, you're going to be Zoom kings and queens, with this world, but hopefully it will still be enjoyable to you, because it was more of a novelty to everybody back in May than it is now. But also don't underestimate just your family. Let people know, I want to teach in Catawba County. I want to be in this school. Don't be shy about letting people know. That's part of your network. Whoops, sorry. All right. And so what's the bare minimum? If you're like, I've got way too much on my plate, I'm thinking about Tamala. I mean, that you poor person, you probably hardly feel like you get to sleep or rest. Your world's crazy. You might have kids, pets, roommates. You're in and out. What is the bare minimum that you need to know and to do to be prepared for your next step? Your resume, that speaks for you. That is going to be the impression that you put out there first. A list of really great references. They don't need to be people with the fanciest titles, but when I say great references, people who can speak to your work ethic, who can speak to your preparedness, and can speak to really your character. When we do reference checks, if I'm doing a reference check on someone, I already know they can do the job. If you've gotten an interview, we know you can do the job. Now we're just trying to figure out, are you the person who is going to be a great addition to our team? And how will you fit in with our team? You've got to advocate for yourself. And right now, there's so much noise in the world. You really want to set yourself apart. I'm going to tell you a really quick story. Some of you who've been on campus, I don't know if you've ever noticed the McKinney Alumni Center that is there kind of across from the Holmes Center. So Mrs. McKinney and Mr. McKinney were my landlords when I was in graduate school. And they graduated from Appalachian in the 40s. And Miss McKinney told me that she wanted to teach in High Point schools at that time. And she had graduated from Appalachian. She didn't have a job. And somebody called her like on the phone like this and said, there is a job opening. Such and such person just retired. You need to get down there and apply. So she went to the superintendent's office, to the central office at like 7:55 that morning and said, I am here to apply for the job and I'd like to talk to the superintendent. The superintendent was busy and the secretary said, well, he's got a very busy schedule. He'll get back with you. And she said, well, I'll just wait. She knew that her best friend was going to also apply for that job. And she thought her best friend might have a better chance. She sat in that office until like 4:30 that afternoon, at which point the superintendent finally met with her and basically said, okay, the job is yours. So I'm not suggesting that you camp out on Zoom or you call someone 5,000 times, but she knew that's what she wanted and she was determined to get it. So I share that story with you to say no one is going to advocate for yourself more than you are. So don't be shy about talking about the skills and talents and experiences that you have. And then I think one thing that is we often don't talk about because it's kind of messy and it doesn't feel really good and it's kind of awkward, is what is it that you have to be able to take care of yourself? If you have student loans that are significant, and you may have other obligations, and what a teacher salary is going to be, say in the state of North Carolina, you probably can't afford to live in uptown Charlotte in an apartment that's going to cost $2,000 a month in rent. So really being realistic about what your financial obligations are. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of place to negotiate your salary as a teacher, but I think what you're going to find when you come to the education fair is that there, and again, we want you to stay in North Carolina, but you are a highly sought commodity. There are school districts that will pay you a moving expense, that will, give you bonuses. And but you really need to think about, what is my baseline that I need, and also how do those obligations play into where I physically can be. If you've got family that you need to help take care of that is in Rocky Mount in Eastern North Carolina, then probably taking a job far west of Asheville is going to be very stressful for you. So there's so many things to take into account, but I did want to mention that. So quickly summarizing, because we are right at 8 o'clock, and I know I want to be mindful of y'all's time. This time is really hard. And I think we've all figured out how to acknowledge that, but it's okay to feel overwhelmed. I've already said life is a process. It's not a race. You all are going to be prepared in so many ways for the world ahead. And I personally am very glad that this time is happening with you all as being the young professionals, because I have a lot of confidence in you. There are going to be new opportunities, new ways of doing things. Schools are going to be evolving. You're going to be on the cutting edge of what those schools look like. You're going to bring so much to bear. And I think the other thing I want to make sure that you know is that the Career Development Center does not leave you when you graduate. We are here. So I'm just going to pick on Elizabeth again. So let's say Elizabeth goes, she does her teaching for the spring, and then she's like, I kind of want to spread my wings and do something totally different. You can still come and make an appointment with us. You still have a handshake account. You still have access to come to the career fairs. So I just want to make sure that you know that. And that is one of our early pictures back in the spring. I probably need to get another one to put up there. But let me get y'all back and get my screen back, minimize you, and see what other questions, thoughts, comments y'all have before we wrap up.
I had a question, sort of like what Jennifer asked earlier about licensure, but like if we applied for a job and we don't graduate until December 11th, but can we start working between the time that student teaching ends and we graduate, or no?
I'm going to look to Dr. Reeder, but I think the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. So and this is actually going to be in this week's Weekly Digest, because I keep getting asked this question a lot, which means a lot of schools are hiring right now, many of you. Your first day of eligibility for employment is Wednesday, November 25th, which is the day after your last day of student teaching. The only exception would be if you have to make up any days, but you can start employment that day.
Okay. Thank you.
And celebrate.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm looking to apply federally because that's
right.
where we are, just federally. I've been offered, a teacher is retiring, and she's leaving in January. However, I know there's a lot of stipulations. It's just I guess the part about just advocating for self and maybe pulling together the letter, and then what else is it that I could do to say, hey, I'm here, I've been here, and I've completed everything. I guess talk to HR, I'm not sure, to let them know, because a lot of it is just applications where the application cannot be submitted unless you upload, your licensure or upload transcripts, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of stuck in that position where I have to have the paperwork in order to submit. They won't even receive it. So, right. Going around, I know the position's available. I've been offered the position.
But you got to jump through all the hoops.
we have to jump through the hoops, but just going, I guess, maybe to the superintendent and say, I'm here, I'm just waiting, what
Yeah.
other things could be done.
So is it a DoD school or like an embassy school or?
It's DOD, it is DOD.
Okay, so I'm gonna look to Dr. Reeder, but I think what I would do is I would go and ask let that superintendent, that's the person you have had communication with, let them know you want that position and that you could use some assistance on those federal expectations. You probably have to apply through USA Jobs. Um, and I can try to do a little bit of homework. I won't be back in the office until Monday, but maybe look on the USA Jobs site, because I think for any federal employment, you have to have submitted a USA Jobs application. So that's kind of like a baseline. So check that out. And then I would talk to the superintendent, find out who the best person is in the HR office. And is that someone on the base or it's someone at the school? They'll let you know, I would hope. And then I would work directly with that person.
Okay.
So Dr. Reeder, has that been your experience in the past with folks like that?
Yeah, we really don't get very many that are in Tamala's situation, but yes, I think exactly what Dr. McCracken just recommended. If they want to hire you, and it sounds like they've already given you a verbal offer, they're going to put it on them. Say, well, then help me figure out how to do this, and they will. So just go directly to them.
And I have a friend, she was a former graduate assistant in my office, and she worked in a couple of different DoD schools in South and Central America. She's a librarian in the Asheville City schools, and I can try to reach out to her. It's been a while, but the federal government doesn't change very quickly. So the process probably has not evolved a great deal. But I would be happy to investigate that a little bit and work with you if you want to be back in touch with me.
Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds exciting.
Yes, it's pretty much because we already live here. It's more like local hire type thing. And I'm already at the school as far as substituting. Well, not now, but soon. And so that's another question as far as substituting. If I fill that role as a substitute, and then usually it's just a direct local hire type thing. I just wanted to know, I know you mentioned Wednesday, November 25th, we're eligible for employment, but as far as the substituting part of it, after that, can we, like I would be a long-term sub and I'll just kind of fall into the position. But then, like I said, the application portion of it, which we have our like own application system type thing, that's the only thing where I'm just like, I know I don't want it to be a taboo thing where the principals said we need a middle school science teacher, and then the teachers have two teachers have said that they're leaving now in the end of the year. So I just want to make sure that I don't approach it wrong or just go directly, I guess, with federal government too high up first kind of thing. So but I just want to just have a strategy, a wise strategy, that's all.
Yeah, I think explore USA Jobs. Having your name in that pot will not hurt you. And it may open up other opportunities long term. And then I would say talk to your superintendent, and then let you and I connect and sort of see, because I'm really curious. I've not done that before, so it can be a learning for you and me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had another question that I thought of when she was talking about emailing the superintendent. So like I've heard when you apply for a job to reach out to the principal at the school that you applied at and just say like I put in an application. Like, is that something we should do, and what would go in that sort of email, I guess, is my question.
And right now it would probably be an email. I think it would be very similar to your cover letter, not quite as long. And if there is some connection that you have to that principal, that would be even better. Like, you know, Mrs. Jones, who teaches 3rd grade, I did, well, maybe if you did did your block there, that would obviously be a way to connect. And principals change, so it could be a school you want to be at, but it's a new principal. So if you have a connection to that school, I would reference that connection. You don't want to be like, well, my mom works here and she told me I should call you. That's not going to go over too well. But if you have a connection, even if it is like, I think even if it's like, I have a friend who is the head of the PTA, and I have heard great things about this school, and I've done my research on you, and there are a lot of things that you're doing at the school that are very attractive to me. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the thing that would be hard right now, to be really honest, and I don't think it's a reason to not do to not do that outreach, but I just think so many people are so overwhelmed. I cannot imagine being a principal or a school superintendent right now. And so just give them some grace. If you don't hear back right away, maybe send a second email, and then maybe call the school office and just don't be sheepish necessarily, but you don't want to be like, I've sent 2 emails and they never responded. But yeah, I would do that. Okay. Yeah.
And Daphne, if it's a North Carolina public school position, then you're going to need to probably apply through Teacher Match. And so you're going to want to go on, fill out your application, all of that stuff on there. And so then in that email, you would be saying, hey, I understand you have this position and I've already applied on Teacher Match. I just wanted to personally introduce myself. So that way they know, let me go pull up Daphne's information, and they've just kind of got a name to go along with that. And yes, Dr. McCracken's right. They're so busy. Don't be disappointed if they don't respond to you. But I will say right now, they are in some hiring frenzies trying to fill some positions. So they probably would appreciate hearing from you.
Yeah. And I don't think you can really go by right now. I don't think that would be a welcome thing. But yeah, making yourself available.
I have a question just to clarify. Are we able to I guess the dates on as far as when we reference the fact that we would complete, is it premature to say that we're close to completing, we'll complete, or in a position to complete, our certification, that kind of thing, as we reference the letter? I have my targets set on this position, that kind of thing. How would we word that? I know the helpful letter from Ms. Alfonador is helpful. Also, I guess I'm trying to figure out how would we approach the situation if we haven't, November 24th is not here yet. So how would we approach that?
I think I would just say, I am on track to complete this during this amount of time. And you don't need to explain it, because it's not going to be a necessarily unusual situation. I do know there were several students who are doing their field placement applications now for next semester, and they're like, on my resume, I haven't started my block yet. And I'm like, well, just put down that you are doing that and you're waiting for your assignment. It's okay. Everybody, and this is something truly that everyone in the world should understand. But I think just putting out there, my graduation will be this December. I anticipate having all these requirements fulfilled by then. It's not a stretch.
Thank you. That's helpful. Okay.
So one of the science teachers that I'm working with is actually retiring not till May. What's a good strategy?
Or so you think. They may change their mind.
I know. He's like, well, what's a good strategy for other than like, pick me in May.
So this is the school that you're currently at?
Yes.
I think I would, whomever, this is just me, so I don't know that this is necessarily a great strategy, but I think about who, if you don't have a strong relationship with someone who is an AP or the principal, I would definitely make sure that you start to create some relationship with them, which I recognize is kind of difficult right now, right? But I would definitely do that if you already, and then make it known that this school. I love being at the school. I really want to do this. I want to be a teacher here. And if you already have those relationships, I'm a pretty honest person. I would say, in fact, I'm gonna, after we finish this, I'm gonna follow up with Dr. Reeder and say, okay, this is my first time doing this. I am not in this world. I'm going to say, what do I need to do that I didn't do today? So what I would say is let that person know and just ask exactly what you asked me. I'm really interested in being in the school. I don't want to come across as too aggressive, but as the assistant principal, could you, I would appreciate any advice you could give me on how I make it known that I'm really interested in staying here.
Okay. And second question. So I'm doing middle school science. And a lot of people have said to me, you need to get licensed in math too. What is it? I mean, I'm assuming having more than one license is a benefit. What are the steps, I guess, like, to do that?
I will defer to Dr. Reeder.
So, Sarah, first you're going to finish this program. You're going to get your teaching license in middle grade science. Once that comes through, then you can take the Praxis 2 for math, middle grades math. And as long as you pass it, you can then add it to your license. But make sure you get the science one first. It's easier to add on to it than to, right now you'd have to go through all this coursework and do all that. So wait, well, you won't really graduate. You'll finish your program, get that license, then take the Praxis 2 for that and add it on.
Okay.
And it does make it more marketable because a lot of times those teachers are expected to teach 2 subject areas in middle grades. So like all of our undergraduate middle grades majors have 2 concentration areas. Grad cert is a little different. You guys just choose one, but it'll work the same way basically.
And you really, whenever we have the education career fair in person and I walk around and I'm like, oh, what are you looking for? EC science math, EC science math. Middle grades, which people have such a negative connotation about, middle grades is awesome group to work with. And that's another area that is in high demand.
And Sarah, with your first question, I would definitely make sure those teachers who you would be working with, who they're going to be part of the hiring committee, or at least one of them will be, make sure they know that you're interested in it. And then they'll make sure that the principal knows as well. And so if they're hearing it if the principal's hearing it or assistant principal from you and those teachers, that definitely gives you a leg up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, my CE knows for sure. She's like, she's pushing for it. I think she's pulling for me. So I'm hoping that, because we will be working together, obviously, but okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing I'm just thinking to add there is, I mean, if you're having a good experience and you want to stay in that school, if I were a principal right now and I already have somebody who understands our expectations, shares our values and culture, why, when I've got so many other things going on, why would I work really hard to generate a pool of 40 or 50 people to choose from when Sarah's right here down the hall? So use again, this situation to your advantage.
Yeah, and I'm also an employee already with Buncombe County as a teaching assistant. So I feel like maybe I have a leg up. I don't know, just already being in the system.
You do. I mean, you are already, and most organizations want to promote from within. If they don't, then I think you want to question whether or not that's where you want to be. Right. Y'all got great questions. You're taking me to school. Well, anything else that y'all have burning issues? I know you've had long days. So, great. Oh, and we had someone join us. Nina, glad you're here. Well, we've recorded this and I'll share it with Dr. Reader. Well, actually, I have all your emails. I'll get it directly to y'all too. So let me know if there is anything else. Dr. Reader, any closing comments that you have?
I'm so glad you guys came out tonight. Well, let's see, Dr. McCracken, you guys are hosting another one about how to do a virtual career fair, and that's right before Seminar 3 on October 30th.
It is. Yeah, it's one night that week, and I can't remember, and I'm afraid if I try to open up all my tabs, I'll close.
I don't remember either. But also at Seminar 3 that morning, we have something called professional panels, and you guys will attend those. And they are, it's basically a panel of principals, HR directors, superintendents, people like that. It's the people who are making hiring decisions. And they will just answer all of your questions about the hiring process. So what kind of interview questions do you ask? What are you looking for on a resume? When should I start applying? What positions are you currently, do we have available? They kind of give you the whole, everything, answer any question you have about the whole hiring process. And so you learn a lot of kind of inside information, and students tend to say that's one of the most beneficial things. So you'll do that in the morning, and then you'll have the career fair in the afternoon. It's just a really, really good day. So I have a feeling most of you will have jobs before November 25th.
Yeah, and even you can disappoint a lot of people if you do. So I just shared with y'all the flyers that we received from Winston-Salem Forsyth if you're interested in being in that area. I'm pretty sure their school superintendent is an alum of Appalachian, if I'm not mistaken. Is she still there, Dr. Reader?
They got a new one about a year or so ago, so I'm not sure if the current one is or not.
Yeah.
Deb Emery was there, but I don't even know the lady. I don't know who it is now.
But definitely a lot of Appalachian folks will be in that school district. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Well, y'all, please take care of yourselves. I know this is overwhelming time of the semester, and just try to take it in stride. And yes, you can still make appointments with me. I've been doing, I know most of y'all are busy on Fridays because you're in your schools. I won't be there this Friday, but I've been on Sanford Mall on Fridays from 1 to 2, just kind of drop-in hours with the stadium chair. So the person sitting there all by herself with an empty chair. I'm not doing a pretend therapy session. I'd love to have you come join me, even if you just want to talk about, whatever you're trying to figure out. Welcome you, but you can make an appointment and handshake. Pretty much I've got Friday set aside, but if that doesn't work for you, just email me. I'm going to send you my email again when I send this presentation to you. And if you need to find another day, just let me know and we'll figure it out.
What time did you say you're outside at campus on Fridays?
From 1 to 2, but I won't be there this Friday.
Okay, because I was gonna ask you about that because I know I got your email, like all of us probably got your email about being out there, but like I'm at school, until 3. So yeah. I guess if we should just make an appointment if we want to talk.
Yeah, but I'm happy to meet you in person. I would love to meet y'all in person. I'm so tired of this thing that we're doing. The Jones House is a favorite place to meet, on the front porch of the Jones House, or just to meet on campus, or now that picnic shelters are open, Daniel Boone Park. I don't know, Haley, maybe I'll drive out to Mabel and hang out there. It's beautiful out there. So wait, you're not at Mabel. You are at Mabel. Hardin Park.
Blowing Rock.
Blowing Rock. Oh, even better. We could go to Kilwins and get ice cream and sit in the park.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I am happy. I just need a little time, but I am more than happy to meet. I'll do just about anything outside.
I just had one more question. Can I stay on when everyone leaves and ask you a question, like for
Sure.
this person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Remind me to turn the recording off so I don't send it to everybody. Great. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, y'all have a great evening. Take some type of sedative if you're going to watch the debate. And I would love to see you. Let me know if you want to get together. I'm definitely around.
Thank you, Dr. McCracken. This was great. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I
Have
enjoyed
a good night.
being with y'all. Okay. And Haley, just stick around.
Thank you.
Bye.